What's up, guys? Welcome to June 29th as we dive into Isaiah chapter 1, verse 21, where it talks about unfaithful Jerusalem. See how Jerusalem, once so faithful, has become a prostitute. Once the home of justice and righteousness, she is now filled with murderers. Once like pure silver, you have become like worthless slag. Once so pure, you are now like watered-down wine. Your leaders are rebels, the companions of thieves. All of them love bribes and demand payoffs, but they refuse to defend the cause of orphans or fight for the rights of widows. Therefore the Lord of heaven's armies, the mighty one of Israel says, I will take revenge on my enemies and pay back my foes. I will raise my fist against you. I will melt you down and skim off your slag. I will remove all your impurities. Then I will give you good judges again, and wise counselors like you used to have. Then Jerusalem will again be called the home of justice and a faithful city. Zion will be restored by justice. Those who repent will be revived by righteousness, but rebels and sinners will be completely destroyed, and those who desert the Lord will be consumed. You will be ashamed of your idol worship in groves of sacred oaks. You will blush because you worship in gardens dedicated to idols. You will be like a great tree with withered leaves, like a garden without water. The strongest among you will disappear like straw. Their evil deeds will be the spark that sets it on fire. They and their evil works will burn up together, and no one will be able to put out the fire. Chapter 2, the Lord's future reign. This is a vision that Isaiah, son of Amos, saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. In the last days, the mountain of the Lord's house will be the highest of all, the most important place on earth. It will be raised above the other hills, and people from all over the world will stream there to worship. People from many nations will come and say, Come, let us go up the mountain of the Lord, to the house of Jacob's God. There he will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For the Lord's teaching will go out from Zion. His word will go out from Jerusalem. The Lord will meditate between nations and will settle international disputes. They will hammer their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will no longer fight against nation, nor train for war anymore. Come, descendants of Jacob, let us walk in the light of the Lord. A warning of judgment from the Lord. For the Lord has rejected his people, the descendants of Jacob, because they have filled their land with practices from the east and with sorcerers, as the Philistines do. They have made alliances with pagans. Israel is full of silver and gold. There is no end to its treasures. Their land is full of war horses. There is no end of it for it. There is no end to its chariots. Their land is full of idols. The people worship things they have made with their own hands. So they will be humbled. So now they will be humbled, and all will be brought low. Do not forgive them. Crawl into caves in the rocks, hide in the dust from the terror of the Lord and the glory of his majesty. Human pride will be brought down, and human ignorance will be humbled. Only the Lord will be exalted on that day of judgment. For the Lord of heaven's armies has a day of reckoning. He will punish the proud and mighty and bring down everything that is exalted. He will cut down the tall cedars of Lebanon and all the mighty oaks of Bashan. He will level all the high mountains and all the lofty hills. He will break down every high tower and every fortified wall. He will destroy all the great trading ships and every magnificent vessel. Human pride will be humbled, and human ignorance will be brought down. Only the Lord will be exalted on that day of judgment. Idols will completely disappear. When the Lord rises to shake the earth, his enemies will crawl into holes in the ground. They will hide in caves in the rocks from the terror of the Lord and the glory of his majesty. On that day of judgment, they will abandon the gold and silver idols they made for themselves to worship. They will leave their gods to the rodents and bats while they crawl away into cave caverns and hide among the jagged rocks in the cliffs. They will try to escape the terror of the Lord and the glory of his majesty as he rises to shake the earth. Don't put your trust in mere humans. They are as frail as breath. What good are they? Chapter 3 Judgment against Judah. The Lord of heaven's armies, will take away from Jerusalem and Judah everything they depend on, every bit of bread and every drop of water, all their heroes and soldiers, judges and prophets, fortune tellers and elders, army officers and high officials, advisors, skilled sorcerers, and astrologers. I will make boys their leaders, and toddlers their rulers. People will oppress each other, man after man, neighbor after neighbor. Young people will insult their elders, and vigor people will sneer at the honorable. In those days, a man will say to his brother, "Since you have a coat, you be our leader. Take charge of this heap of ruins." But he will reply, "No, I can't help. I don't have any extra food or clothes. Don't put me in charge." For Jerusalem will stumble and Judah will fall, because they speak out against the Lord and refuse to obey him. They provoked him to his face. The very look on their face gives them away. They display their sin like the people of Sodom, and don't even try to hide it. They are doomed. They have brought destruction upon themselves. Tell the godly that all will be well for them. They will enjoy the rich reward they have earned. But the wicked are doomed, for they will get exactly what they deserve. Childish leaders oppress my people, and women rule over them. Oh, my people, your leaders misled you. They sent you down the wrong road. The Lord takes his place in court and presents his case against his people. The Lord comes forward to pronounce judgment on the elders and rulers of his people. You have ruined Israel, my vineyard. Your houses are filled with things stolen from the poor. How dare you crush my people, grinding the faces of the poor into the dust? Demands the Lord of heaven's armies. A warning for Jerusalem's women. The Lord says, beautiful Zion is haughty, craning her elegant neck, flirting with her eyes, walking with dangling steps, tangling her ankle bracelets. So the Lord will send scabs on her head. The Lord will make beautiful Zion bald. On that day of judgment, the Lord will strip away everything that makes her beautiful: ornaments, headbands, crescent necklaces, earrings, bracelets, and veils, scarves, ankle bracelets, sashes, perfume and charms, rings and jewels, party clothes, gown, caps, and purses, mirrors, fine linen garments, head ornaments, and shawls. Instead of smelling of sweet perfume, she will stink. She will wear a robe for a sash, and her elegant hair will fall out. She will wear rough burlap instead of rich robes. Shame will replace her beauty. The men of the city will be killed with the sword, and her warriors will die in the battle. The gates of Zion will weep and mourn. The city will be like a ravaged woman, huddled on the ground. In that day, a few men will be left, that 7 women will still fight for each man, saying, "Let us all marry you. We will provide our own food and clothing. Only let us take your name so we won't be mocked as old maids." A promise of restoration. But in that day, the branch of the Lord will be beautiful and glorious. The fruit of the land will be the pride and glory of all who serve in Israel. All who remain in Zion will be a holy people. Those who survive the destruction of Jerusalem and are recorded among the living, the Lord will wash the filth from beautiful Zion and cleanse Jerusalem of all of its bloodstains with the hot breath of fury and judgment. Then the Lord will provide shade for Mount Zion and all who assemble there. He will provide a canopy of cloud during the day, and smoke and flaming fire at night, covering the glorious land. It will be a shelter from daytime heat and a hiding place from storms and rain. Chapter 5, a song from about the Lord's vineyard. Now I will sing for the one I love, a song about his vineyard. My beloved had a vineyard on a rich and fertile hill. He plowed the land, cleared its stones, and placed it with the finest vines. In the middle, he built a watchtower and carved a winepress in the nearby rocks. Then he waited for a harvest of sweet grapes, but the grapes that grew were bitter. Now you people of Jerusalem and Judah, you judge between me and my vineyard. What more could I have done for my vineyard that I have not done? When I expected sweet grapes, why did my vineyard give me bitter grapes? Now let me tell you, what I will do to my vineyard. I will tear down its hedges and let it be destroyed. I will break down its walls and let the animals trample it. I will make it a wild place where the vines are not pruned and the ground is not hoed, a place overgrown with barriers and thorns. I will command the clouds to drop no rain on it. The nation of Israel is like the vineyard of the Lord of heaven's armies. The people of Judah and are his pleasant garden. He expected a crop of justice, but instead he found oppression. He expected to find righteousness, but instead he heard cries of violence. Judah's guilt and judgment. What sorrow for you who buy up house after house and field after field until everyone is evicted and you live alone in the land. But I heard the Lord of heaven's armies swore a solemn oath. Many houses will stand deserted. Even beautiful mansions will be emptied. 10 acres of vineyard will not produce even 6 gallons of wine. 10 baskets of seed will yield only 1 basket of grain. What sorrow for those who get up early in the morning looking for a drink of alcohol and spending the long evenings drinking wine to make themselves flaming drunk. They furnish wine and lovely music at their grand parties, lyre and harp, tambourine and flute, but they never think about the Lord or notice what he is doing. So my people will go into exile far away because they do not know me. Those who are great and honored will starve, and the common people will die of thirst. The grave is licking its lips in anticipation, opening its mouth wide. The great and the lowly, and all the drunken mob will be swallowed up. Humanity will be destroyed and people brought down. Even the ignorant will lower their eyes in humiliation. But the Lord of heaven's army will be exalted by his justice. The holiness of God will be displayed by his righteousness, and flattened sheep and young goats will feed among the ruins. What sorrow for those who drag their sins behind them with ropes made of lies, who drag wickedness behind them like a cart. They even mock God and said, "Hurry up and do something. We want to see what you can do. Let the Holy One of Israel carry out his plan. For we know for we want to know what it is. What is sorrow for those who say that evil is good and good is evil, that dark is light and light is dark, that bitter is sweet, sweet is bitter. What sorrow for those who are wise in their own eyes and think themselves so clever. What sorrow for those who are heroes, are drinking wine and boast about all the alcohol they can hold. They take bribes to let the wicked go free, and they punish the innocent. Therefore, just as fire licks up stubbles and dry grass shrivels in the flame, so their roots will not, and their flowers withered. For they have rejected the law of the Lord of heaven's armies. They have rejected the word of the Holy One of Israel. This is why the Lord's anger burns against his people, and why he raised his fist to crush them. The mountains tremble. The corpse of his people litter like streets like litter the streets like garbage. But even then, the Lord's anger is not satisfied. His fist is still opposed to strike. He will send a signal into distant nations far away and whistle to those who are at the ends of the earth. They will come racing toward Jerusalem. They will not get tired or stumble. They will not stop for rest or sleep. Not a belt will be loose, not a sandal strap broken. Even their arrows will be sharp, and their bows ready for battle. Sparks will fly from their horses' hooves. Sparks will, and the wheels of their chariots will spin like a whirlwind. They will roar like a lion, like the youngest of lions. Growling, they will pounce on their victims and carry them off, and no one will be there to rescue them. They will roar over the victims on that day of destruction, like the roaring of the sea. If someone looks across the sea, across the land, only darkness and distress will be seen. Even the light will be darkened by clouds. And so that's the end for today. Isaiah chapter. Trying to think. Isaiah chapter 5, verses 20 to 22. What sorrow for those who say that evil is good and good is evil. The dark is light and light is dark. The bitter is sweet and sweet is bitter. That's kind of the society we live in, guys. This is not just our society, our world. We glorify what is bad. We criticize what is good. And so we are constantly in this spiritual battle of fighting against what is dishonorable to God. But the thing is, like, it's hard because it's like people find excuses after excuses for why they try to justify their sins, which is really dangerous because when you try to justify your sins, you're basically telling God that you didn't do anything wrong. You're basically telling God that you can do whatever, which you can, I guess. But realize that if you're going to go down that path of doing whatever you want, then that's when you can't spend eternity with God, because like God gave you the time. God gave us the time to spend time with him here. But if we reject him in here, he will reject us in heaven. As Jesus says, if you don't stand up, if you don't I forgot the exact phrasing, but like if you don't like call upon my name, or if you don't represent me on earth, I will not represent you. I will not be representing for you in heaven. For when it comes to the Father, that's what our society is like. We don't respect, we don't honor Jesus, and that's an issue. That's an issue on its own, you know. But it's like a repetition of what sorrow there are for those who are wise in their own eyes and think themselves so clever. I don't really know, because it's like we've done so much evil, God could prepare us for the best situation. He could be putting us in the best shoe. But instead we decide to take a different path. We decide to say, no, God, let me do it. I think I have a better plan. When you start to reject the plan that God has for you, that's when you get yourself in trouble. And nobody wants to get in trouble. You know. And like we ought to have faith that God makes plans. It may look like a stupid plan, but He made a plan. Trust that He has us for our best interest. He's not doing it so that He can watch us getting miserably tortured, living a miserable life. That's not why He does it. He does it just as a way to strengthen our faith, as a way to test our faith, to say like, hey, is this person being genuine when they say, he's a follower, he's a follower of mine. Yeah, there isn't like a whole lot to get out of. It's just more judgments. But obviously, it's like chapter 3, verse 16 to chapter 4 really encapsulate the whole idea. It's like you can look as nice as you can on the outside, but once God like tears apart your physical aspects of you, and reveals it in your heart, you realize that just because you present yourself one way outwardly does not mean that that's who you are internally. And so how do you align your actions of those world? How do you align that with God as well? You can't just represent God at one time at one place while going about the rest of the week misrepresenting Him to the fullest and stuff, and not understanding that. But yeah, like I said, I don't have much to share and stuff, so may you guys go and walk with God today.